guys, this is Carter Gump here and welcome back to this channel. Today we're going to give offensive stats for the Seattle Seahawks. These are my predictions for how the season is going to go in terms of stats for the starters for the Seattle Seahawks. So how this works is we have the number one quarterback, which is Russell Wilson. Then we have the top two running backs on the team, which are Chris Carson and Rashad Penny. I chose Rashad Penny over Carlos Hyde because I think Rashad Penny is better and he will be the backup to Chris Carson. And then we have our top three wide receivers, which are Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Philip Dorsett. And then finally we have the starting tight end, Greg Olsen. And I give stats for these players. And yeah, but now let's get into this video, starting off with Russell Wilson. So the stats I give Russell Wilson were 4,500 passing yards with 35 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. Because Russell Wilson rarely turns over the ball. If you watch him play, he rarely turns over the ball. And I think the Seahawks are going to give him more opportunities this year. Because they've always been relying on the running game and then letting Russell Wilson unleash himself in the second half. And I think the Seahawks will give him and Russell Wilson a little bit more opportunities so they can score more and be more successful. So 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions is really good. And then on the rushing side of the ball, I think he'll get about 350 rushing yards and a touchdown maybe. Maybe not, but I think he'll get 1 touchdown, possibly. So yeah, a really good season for Russell Wilson. Now moving on to the starting running back in Chris Carson. And I think he'll get about 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns on the running game, which is really good. He would have probably hit close to 1,400 yards if he were to play the whole season last year, because he was at about 1,200 last year before he got hurt in week 16. So we could have made 1,400 yards on the season. But I think he'll get 1,200 yards since his role is reduced just a little bit with Russell Wilson probably throwing the ball a little bit more. And you have Rashad Penny there and Carlos Hyde, so maybe a little less playing time there, but still really good running back, probably averaging around 4 to 5 yards a carry, which is really good. But then on the receiving side of the ball, he gets about 20 to 25 catches for 175 yards and 1 touchdown in there. That's pretty good for Chris Carson. I mean, he's not really a receiving running back, but he's not bad in the receiving game. Helps the team a little bit there. But yeah, Chris Carson has a pretty good season. And then you have Rashad Penny, the backup. Rashad Penny can get some explosive runs, but then also struggles sometimes. But can get very explosive runs and get long touchdowns, as you saw last year. And I think that will really help him, as he'll get about 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. And expect those touchdowns to be longer touchdowns, from at least 25 yards or more, because that's really where he gets his yardage and touchdowns there. Because he can break away, and when he does, he's great. Finds that hole, and he can't catch up because he's fast. But yeah, then on the receiving game, probably around 15 catches, 100 yards. Pretty classic for a backup running back. They're going to get too much. But now we have Tyler Lockett, the number 1 wide receiver. Maybe DK Metcalf gets that role, but I don't think he will get that for the next few years. But I said Tyler Lockett will get 1,200 receiving yards with 8 touchdowns and 80 catches. So that's a really good year. That is 15 yards a catch, though, so maybe a little stretch. Maybe a few more catches, a few less yards. But Tyler Lockett is a great player in the deep ball. That gets his average yards per catch up, because he's so great in that deep ball with Russell Wilson. That's probably the best deep ball in the NFL, is the Russell Wilson-Tyler Lockett combo. So you really got deep there, which really helps the Seattle team. And then you also have DK Metcalf, who I said would get 55 catches for about 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. DK Metcalf is great in the red zone, and he can jump up and get the ball. And you'll see less rookie mistakes. He made some mistakes last year, like every rookie does. I think he'll do better this year, not make as many mistakes, and get him to his first 1,000-yard season of many in his NFL career. So great as a number 2 wide receiver, and a phenomenal performance. But then you have Philip Dorsett as the number 3 wide receiver, and I really don't like Philip Dorsett, but he'll get some stats because he is a 3rd wide receiver. So about 600 yards and 3 touchdowns on 30 catches. More like 550 yards though. Yeah, he'll get some stuff going, but he's not a great wide receiver. Not bad. He's pretty good for a 3rd wide receiver, but he's not a 2nd or 1st wide receiver. So good that he's a 3rd wide receiver there. So yeah, this receiving core for the Seahawks actually looks pretty good now. Instead of having Josh Gordon at number 3, you have Philip Dorsett at number 3. It's a little bit better because Josh Gordon is always out of the league because of some suspensions and stuff like that. But now on to the last offensive player on the list. You have Greg Olsen, the starting tight end of the Seattle Seahawks this year. He got signed by the Seattle Seahawks back in February, so a long time ago. And I think he'll do pretty good with the Seahawks team because the Seahawks team is pretty tight end heavy with Will Dissly and now Greg Olsen and also Jacob Hollister. So I think this might be a little bit inaccurate, but that receiver or tight end tandem will be really good. So this receiving core in total for the Seattle Seahawks are great because you got Greg Olsen there, Jacob Hollister, Will Dissly as the tight ends. Then you have Philip Dorsett, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. So you got 6 great weapons on the field. If you wanted to run like 5 wide receiver sets where you have like Greg Olsen, Will Dissly in there, and then you got DK and Tyler Lockett for the deep ball. As we got Greg Olsen and Will Dissly kind of going mid-range. And then you got a guy like Jacob Hollister, Philip Dorsett there, catches it short. That's really good for the Seahawks. So you're going to get someone open there. But yeah, so Greg Olsen, 850 yards with 8 touchdowns on 45 catches. He'll make some plays. He's aggressive. This is probably going to be the last time he gets over 800 yards in his career. He's old. Probably won't sign back with the Seahawks next year. If he does, that's great, but he probably won't. But a really good year for him. Think about how old he is, and that's a pretty good season for a tight end, getting 800 yards. But yeah, that will do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And if you have any other video ideas, please comment them down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!